Hello, so here we are, part 32. I did say I was on a roll today, four pieces in one day. Yeah, although it's technically the next day now, it's just after midnight, yeah. So what I wanted to just carry on with was, the idea of how believers and skeptics, differ, and how it's not always, well, it just isn't a clear case of us and them. It just isn't, that there's just so many variations in, how people look at things and perceive things. And the first thing I want to say is, that I do come across some very, very nice, reasonable skeptics. And by this, I mean people who just say, I don't believe in the paranormal. I don't believe anything like that. I've never seen any evidence of it. I've never, kind of had any reason to believe that, these things, really happen. I'm of a very scientific, point of view with everything, and of course that's all very nice. That's all very reasonable. And we do get these kind of people who will come along and say, you know what, I do believe that the Lutz story, was a genuine story of fear. But I just don't believe that it was anything paranormal. I believe that something scared them, but it wasn't paranormal. And it doesn't really get any fairer than that. And then there's other people, who will say, look, I think it was a great story. It's very entertaining and fair play to them and all of that, but I don't believe it actually happened. I don't believe any of it was real. I just feel it was, a great piece of artwork, and that's all it was. I mean, there is a classic example of Margot Kidder, the late Margot Kidder, unfortunately, who played Kathy Lutz in the original film, and it's very sad. Well, she said it quite openly in interviews, actually, that she didn't really believe any of the story, and kind of behind the scenes, she was finding it all very laughable. She didn't really, buy any of it, and just thought it was all good fun, really. Yeah, apparently to the point where she was quite annoying to some people because she kept making such fun and jokes and making it all very frivolous when some of them were trying to be more serious. Yeah, but I mean, again, I mean, it's perfectly fine, for people to say I don't believe, and that's it, and some even to the point of I don't believe in things like that, so I'm going to end the conversation now. I mean, that's perfectly reasonable, isn't it? Because then, no one's going to offend anyone. No one's going to get into discussions that starts, causing any friction. You can't say any more reasonable than that. But when it comes to, I'm talking about the Amityville horror mainly. Yeah, of course I am. But when it comes to, some people, it's not just a case of being a skeptic. It's a case of being, very, very cynical and very aggressively against something that comes across, in a very, very harsh way that, can be very, very unnecessary, as far as I'm concerned, as far as a lot of other people are concerned. I mean, it's like I say, there's such a thing as nice skeptics, but then we've got the aggressive pro-hoax patrol or the anti-Lutz brigade, as I call them. And, this does include, members of the public who've got no real connection to the case or any of the people involved, but they, really want to, kind of stamp on it. They really want to have a go at this, and say it's all absolute nonsense and they're terrible people. And I mean, this is, what I say, and I have covered this, with the more notable character, well, people involved about, kind of saying, that many had something to gain from trying to prove a hoax, but then with them and really anyone who's really heavily against it, I feel it's got to be said that they have a nasty streak in them. And I really do not say that just because they defy and disagree with my beliefs. I really don't say that, at all. Because I think whatever way we look at it, we're looking at people who are out to destroy something, so they've got a, kind of a destructive, intention to this whole thing. I mean, it's like, even if someone's just enjoying it, and, it's like, well, leave them alone then. They're not hurting you by believing it, but so stop trying to spoil it. But it's like they can't rest, they've got to destroy it, So to, want to call people liars and criminals and frauds and scammers and everything like that, there has to be, quite a harsh, nasty streak in someone to be like that. That just does, because we could always say that, technically it's none of their business. I mean, what difference does it make to them and their lives that some people believe in a paranormal story? It makes absolutely no difference to them at all. But it's as though some are like a dog with a bone and they just can't, just sit back and accept that. They can't accept that, people do have the right to believe different things. And it's as though they just, they become like schoolyard bullies. It's like, that they see a gang of kids, happily playing together and, minding their own business, and yet they've got to go over there and destroy it. They've got to go and cause trouble. They've got to hurt someone. They've got to, kind of take their toys away, or, if they're playing ball, they've got to take the ball and, puncture it, just to be spiteful. And that's how these things can come across, like I say, there are those who had something to gain, something, kind of in regards to notoriety or, financial monetary gain. Yeah. But there's still got to have been something of a spiteful, nasty, kind of need to get at people, because I mean, like we say, telling a story of, people being frightened, saying, we've had a frightening experience, that isn't hurting anyone. That isn't, kind of doing any damage to anyone. It's not scamming anyone. It just isn't. I mean, like we say, regardless of, their individual beliefs, it's something that, doesn't have any direct impact. It just doesn't. And so, I really do, struggle with that. I do, fail to understand why they can't just, step back and think, oh, well, if you want to believe nonsense, you carry on, but I'm going to carry on with something else, So that's why I say that, sometimes, it really does highlight, a very unpleasant side to people. And I'm not going to say that it doesn't work both ways. Sometimes it does, where people will, be very much on the side of, if you don't believe, you're an idiot. That can happen too, and it can go to the other extreme. But it does tend to be, kind of non-believers or very staunch, cynical, hoax protesters are wanting to, really stamp on believers. That is just how it tends to be. I mean, what we can sometimes, come across is, people who will say, yeah, I do believe in the paranormal, I do believe in things like this, but I don't believe in the Amityville horror because they were just scammers, they were just liars, they just made it all up. Well, okay, fair enough, if that's what you believe, that's fine, but let's not be nasty about it. That there is nothing about it that's affecting you or hurting you. So why do we need to be like that? But then this will bring me to, a point that is mentioned in the book. Amityville does bring out the worst in people. And that is a quote from Daniel Farrens, via a private message, that it just somehow does, and that's in all angles, Could we even say that this is part of a curse that's been going on all this time, and this is why the legend is still so alive? I mean, it is just something that's worth considering. People will laugh at that. I know they will. There'll be people who just think, what the hell is that idiot talking about? But let's face it, we're talking a very old story that still, invokes such aggression and passion in people. We sometimes have to beg the question, why? Yeah? So, I think I've given you quite a bit to think about there. Yeah, hope so. And I hope that it will, prove interesting, thought-provoking. Yeah, so I'll be back very soon. Yeah, take care. Thank you. Many blessings, as ever.